Welcome everyone to this session where Alice Odd is going to talk about the Basel mission's economic activities in India, a 19th century example of business's mission. Alice is an affiliate professor of the history of mission and world Christianity at TED's, Trinity Evangelical Divinity School in Deerfield, Illinois. And I will turn it over to her now.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Good morning to you. So the topic of my presentation this morning is the Basel Mission and its industrial training and businesses in India. Now, just a note, industrial training is the word that they used in the 19th century for what we today refer to as vocational training. But I'm going to be using the correct term, the term that they used, in other words, industrial training. I'm going to first give an overview of their economic theory and practices in India. And then at the end of the presentation, I will briefly discuss whether or not these business ventures in India can legitimately be considered a 19th century example of business and as mission. So let's get started. The Basel Mission was, there you go. The Basel Mission was not the only missionary society in the 19th century to maintain industrial and commercial enterprises, but it was, quote, the largest and best known and had the most extensive and developed economic activity and theory of any missionary society. The mission was founded in September of 1815 as a missionary training school that supplied missionaries to other well-established societies, missionary societies, such as the Church Missionary Society and the London Missionary Society. But by the late 1820s, the Basel Mission began sending its own missionaries to places like the Gold Coast, 1827, India, 1834, and South China in 1846. From the very beginning, the high level of economic theory and practice within the Basel Mission was extensive. From the beginning, this is in large part due to the fact that the leadership of the mission had roots within the merchant and banking circles in Basel, Switzerland, a fact which influenced their integration of industrial training, trade, and business enterprises with the missionary preaching mandate. At its founding, the Basel Mission, like many other missions in the 19th century, embraced the civilizing goal. It defined the task of missionaries being the spreaders of a beneficent civilization and propagators of the gospel of peace to various areas of the pagan world. In other words, both civilization and evangelization. The first mission inspector of the Basel Mission, Christian Gottlieb Blumhardt, there you see his tenure from 1816 to 1838, he further clarified the implications of this task in his instruction for the Basel missionaries sent to Liberia in 1827. The missionaries should not only learn the local language, preach the gospel, and exemplify the gospel through their lifestyle, they should also provide elementary education as well as industrial training in agriculture or in trades such as tailor, shoemaker, weaver, cabinet maker, or locksmith, in order that the local Africans might, quote, earn their living with their own hand. Thus, a major focus of the Basel Mission from its inception was to create employment opportunities for the local people and thereby to spread a beneficent civilization. The Basel Mission to India was launched in 1834 among the South Kannada people near Mangalore. The caste system in India made the need for industrial training quite urgent. The various castes in India are connected with specific occupations. And when an individual converted to Christianity, it was not uncommon for them to be ostracized from both their family and their caste, which could result in dire financial situations, loss of employment, and also of financial help or inheritances from family. Furthermore, many of the Basel mission early converts were toddy drawers. It's kind of, I put circles here because they're kind of hard to see against the backdrop there, or shamans, which were two occupations that were not viewed as acceptable for Christians. These were key factors in the mission's decision to not just provide industrial training for converts, but also to develop their own industries and factories to provide employment. And toward this end, they started sending out, the Basel Mission Institute started sending out trained craftsmen missionaries for their overseas missions. By 1855, 68 of them had been sent out. The South Kanara mission had mixed success with their economic enterprises. As early as 1840, they began experimenting with agricultural enterprises, such as for such products as tea, coffee, arrowroot, coconut oil, but they had little success. Agricultural work brought with it many problems. The mission was required to purchase land, ultimately 2,600 acres, which led to, quote, a colonization of people on mission property. The locals were not always very motivated to work hard because they didn't own the land. And agricultural work also tended to inhibit converts from evangelizing their fellows, since more Christians using that land would mean less land per unit. By 1880, the agricultural mission was entirely abandoned and mission lands were sold or returned to the Indian government. In the 1840s, the Basel mission turned to industrial and commercial pursuits, which in general were more successful than agriculture. The first significant industrial enterprise was the printing press with bookbindery in Mangalore, begun in 1841. Here you see a more recent photo. 10 years later, a printer from Basel was recruited who brought with him from Europe fonts for the Canarese script. The press, quote, not only gave employment to many converts, but it was also seen as a great instrument for the spreading of the good news through printed tracts and books. In contrast, an example of an unsuccessful enterprise was when two lay Basel missionaries arrived who had been trained in clockmaking, and they introduced the manufacture of Black Forest cuckoo clocks in South Kanara. It's not too surprising that there was little demand for this product, and this manufacture was soon discontinued. The failure of the agricultural venture and the mixed success with the industrial enterprises prompted Mission Inspector Joseph Josenhans, whose tenure was from 1850 to 1879, to visit the Indian field in 1851-2. His visit renewed his conviction that industrial training must form a part of the activities of our mission in India, as should the industrial undertaking. He meant businesses. Businesses, however, quote, be placed in the hands of a competent commission and carried on by lay missionaries equipped with technical training and skill. To this end, Josenhans revived the previously formed Industrial Commission in 1852 as a means to strengthen the industrial enterprises and to unite them with the mission while still preserving a degree of separation between the two. In 1853, the inspector sent to India the merchant Gottlob Fleiderer to direct the commission. Jos and Hans then explained to the India missionaries in a February 1854 letter the commission's new purpose. The operations of the industrial commissions were not merely an aid to mission, but they were evangelization itself. I read from the letter. The industrial commission may be called a mission work in itself. Evangelization, not by preaching or direct promulgation of the gospel, but by the power of example, by Christianity in its practical everyday life. It is evangelization by practical illustration of Christian diligence, discretion, and integrity. Now, in the statement and in the policy, the Basel Mission was defining industrial and commercial enterprises not as ancillary activities supporting the primary goal of evangelization, but as mission in and of itself. As a corollary, non-clerical, in other words, non-ordained or theologically trained, craftsmen and industrial workers trained at the Mission Institute in Basel received the full title of missionary. Now, the industrial and commercial enterprises in India steadily grew under Fleiderer's leadership of the Industrial Commission. The weaving industry, inaugurated in 1844, proved to be very successful, in large part because weaving was a native cottage industry in the region. In 1851, Johannes Haller, a trained weaver, erected a small factory in Mangalore with 21 European hand looms and a dye house. Haller gained notoriety as the inventor of a dye from the bark of the Semicarpus tree, which he called a khaki, from the Canarese term for dusty. It was soon adopted for the clothing of the Mangalore police and the British Army in India and around the world. Obviously, in dusty climates, your white clothes don't show the dirt as much. By 1880, the textile factory in Mangalore employed 100 workers, mostly Christian converts, one half of whom were widows or other women in need of employment. A second very successful industry was the production of tiles. The South Kanara region had suitable clay as well as the need for better quality roofing tiles that could withstand the torrential rains during the monsoon season. The Basel missionary Georg Plepst from the South Kanara field, he spent his home leave in Germany studying pottery and glazing and experimenting with tiles until he developed a superior product. So when he came back, he established a tile factory with kiln in Mangalore in 1865. Their products, quote, excelled all others in the land, leading the British government in India to order Basel roofing tiles for all their new buildings. The growth of the industrial and commercial enterprises of the Basel Mission required significant capital. It was decided that general mission donations would not be used for commercial ventures. Therefore, a joint stock company called the Basel Mission Trading Company was founded in 1859. It sold shares with 6% interest primarily to friends of the mission in order to raise the necessary capital. While this ensured a degree of separation between the two entities, in reality, quote, there was an closely interlocking directorate between the mission board and the new trading company. One of the goals of the trading company was, quote, to introduce the converted Christians and heathen to Christian commerce in order to develop Christian character. In 1882, the trading company absorbed the Industrial Commission. Now, Jos and Hans' successor as mission inspector was Otto Schutt, whose tenure was from 1879 to 1884. And Schutt did not share his predecessor's enthusiasm for industrial and commercial ventures. In 1881, Schutt made a tour of inspection of the Indian field. He concluded that agriculture in India is a dead weight. Our colossal property in India is a dead weight, which paralyzes mission work, is a mildew on the proclamation of the gospel, and the incubus, that means demon, which holds down the spiritual life of our congregations. He insisted on ridding the mission of their agricultural land, which occurred in 1880. In Schutt's opinion, there was a conflict of interest between the missionary imperative and business. He's going to say that the trading company had lost its way and, quote, become concerned only with looking for profit and not with the benefit of the Indian Christian community. Therefore, he called for a complete separation of the trading company for the mission, that the name mission be removed from all business enterprises, and that the title missionary should not be bestowed on mission personnel engaged in industry and commerce. Now, Schutt was a firm advocate of three self-principles, and he believed that the business activities of the Basel mission hindered the development of an independent Indian church in several ways, by focusing attention on those who were already converted rather than the non-Christian population, and especially by creating an unhealthy dependence on the mission. The mission industries, he wrote, are hindering the progress of the congregations toward independence. They will not reach their pedagogical aim because the missionaries control everything, even the smallest details, and distrust the people. The establishments ruin the character of the people. As long as we continue in this way, we cannot develop any spiritual life. Well, the mission committee of the Basel mission, that's the board of directors, was not willing to accept Schutt's recommendations. Therefore, in June of 1844, Schutt submitted his resignation. He confessed, this is a quote from him, "In spite of my personal attachment to this mission, I am of the opinion that the clerical mission, in other words, the preaching mandate, ought to be separated from commerce and industry." Now, interestingly, roughly 30 years later, the Commission 3 report on industrial mission, industrial education of the 1910 Edinburgh World Missionary Conference came to very similar solutions as Schutt did. While industrial education in India could be beneficial as a means of providing employment for the socially marginalized, most missionary respondents noted that it was not an unqualified success in India. Other places were different, but in India. Rather, according to Reverend W.A. Stanton of the American Baptist Telugu Mission, industrial work has shown the immense difficulties of the undertaking rather than substantial results. The commission report concluded that industrial undertakings in India fostered dependency among the converts, which was inimical to the development of an independent indigenous church on three self-principles. Quote, "Paid employment of Christian converts creates a body of hangers-on who fail to form habits of independence and self-reliance." Furthermore, the commission recommended that large industrial, another quote, "large industrial and agricultural undertakings by missionary societies should most wisely be entrusted to independent bodies of Christian laymen. Mission societies should be relieved of all financial responsibilities. Yes, very interestingly, Inspector Schutt had come to these same conclusions 30 years earlier. Now, by 1913, the Basel mission industries in India, mainly tile making, printing, and weaving, employed 3,600 people. That same year, the Basel Trading Company generated 1.85 million Swiss francs of income from their economic activities worldwide. 20% of those profits flowed directly into the coffers of the Basel mission. But at the onset of World War I in 1914, the British government in India confiscated the Basel Mission industrial and commercial businesses, which they viewed as German organizations. Now, this assumption on the part of the British government was not completely unfounded, because actually at this time, roughly more than half of their missionaries and more than half of their mission contributions came from Germany. Germany was the enemy of the British. And while the industries of the Basel mission were ultimately returned in India, that would not be the case in India. Only the Hebich Technical Training School, which was established in 1864 on the premises of the former Basel Mission Press, this is the old picture, remained. It was named in honor of Samuel Hebich, one of the first missionaries to Mangalore. All right, the concept of business as mission arose in the 1990s when several conferences convened to discuss the redemptive potential, that's a quote, of Christian-managed businesses in Central Asia. This idea appealed to Christian business professionals, and soon a movement began. The 2004 Lausanne Committee for World Evangelization regarded BAM as, quote, an important new development in world mission. 70 delegates were invited to discuss the issue at the 2004 Lausanne Conference in Pattaya, Thailand. A Lausanne occasional paper on the topic of BAM was generated by the Pattaya Conference. It defined business as mission in a way reminiscent of Inspector Josenhans's statement exactly 150 years earlier. Business, this is a quote, is a mission, a calling, a ministry in its own right. Business in and of itself is the ministry and instrument of mission. It is about releasing the entrepreneurs and business professionals within the church in order to transform the world through their business activities. Now, I've already given you a short overview of the economic enterprises of the Basel Mission in India from its beginnings in the 1830s until they were confiscated by the British government in 1914. Now we turn to the burning question. Were the economic activities and theory of the Basel Mission in India a 19th century example of business as mission? First off, let me just say, the question, as I just stated, it is anachronistic, okay? Because the BAM movement was only developed in the 1990s, and so it's anachronistic. Nevertheless, it is profitable to explore both the similarities and differences between the 19th century economic activities and theory of the Basel Mission and the contemporary BAM movement. First, the similarities. The most striking similarity is found in the rationale for businesses promoted by Inspector Joseph Josenhans. His statement that the Basel Mission business ventures in India were as much mission, as much evangelization as, quote, the preaching and direct promulgation of the gospel sounds remarkably similar to the conviction found in the 2004 Lausanne occasional paper. Furthermore, both the Basel Mission under Josenhans and the contemporary BAM movement considered Christian business leaders as full-fledged missionaries. Both were concerned with the economic development of local populations. The BAM movement and the Basel mission, for much of its history, viewed the example of Christian employers, and a Christian-led business as a powerful witness for Christ in the community. One very important difference between the two is immediately apparent. The industrial and commercial enterprises of the Basel mission were closely integrated with a missionary society, which also pursued evangelism and church planting. That, of course, is not the case for BAM Industries, although some have a close relationship with a local church or assistance from a Western missionary. Finally, the contemporary BAM movement would profit from a closer look at the course corrections, the necessary course corrections the Basel mission implemented as a result of its business endeavors in India. The Basel mission discovered that the extensive purchase of land for the agricultural venture in India created social and political problems. It also hindered evangelism. The missionary's role as both pastor and as employer to his convert employees was fraught with tension. Since converts were financially dependent on the mission for their employment, it was difficult for missionaries to dismiss ineffective employees. This stifled not only the spiritual growth of individual converts, but it ultimately hindered the development of independent local churches. To ameliorate this problem, Jos and Hans in 1852 placed the revived Industrial Commission under the leadership of technically trained lay missionaries, but that only solved part of the problem. Furthermore, the Basel mission also needed to put financial distance between itself and its business ventures. In 1859, a new entity was created, the Basel Mission Trading Company, to assure their donors that their mission donations would not be used for commercial ventures. And finally, the contemporary BAM movement should note the impact of local and national and even international political circumstances on business ventures. Nowhere is this more clearly seen than in the permanent confiscation of the Basel Mission's industries in India by the British at the onset of World War I.